Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may eventually.
The Urban Impact Show is sponsored by Green and Wood Media Services. Green and Wood uses digital media to help businesses, political campaigns, and organizations grow while increasing their community impact. Green and Wood Media is pleased to offer a digital media buying fellowship to train, develop, and mentor young people interested in digital media, politics, and advertising. Learn more at greenandwoodmedia.com.
And we are live. Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I am one of your hosts, Rob Johnson, and I am joined by
Brittany Janelle,
Miss Brittany,
Lewis Fountain,
Mr. Lewis Fountain,
Dewana Bradley,
and Miss Dewana Bradley. And the Urban Impact Show is filmed live, as you can see. We do this live right here at a place called The Studio in Windsor Heights. This place that we are in currently is available for booking for private events. If you would like to do that, please don't hesitate to call or text 515-996-0326. Again, this space that we're in, if you want to book this space, it's beautiful in here. Even come by and just give it a little bit of a tour. You can call 515-996-0326. I'm excited about today. Real quick, I got a couple things that I just want to get off my chest really quick before we get into what's going on with the show. First of all, happy birthday to my niece.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Sanaya.
What is she doing today for her birthday?
So my sister blew it out for her. She had a whole little pamper party going on at their house, and some folks came through. Shout out to all of them. That was pretty dope. And then the other thing is I'm excited for the stories to tell my daughter by Teresa Zilk.
I just seen this.
I'm excited about that. So shout out to her. What I want to do, and you and I can talk about how we do it, is I want to get some tickets and get some women there, right? Mm-hmm. Who may not have the means to do it, or may have the means to do it, but stuff is going other places,
let's do
like
it.
I told y'all, milk is $95 a week for this kid, so I get it. So I definitely get it. And look, and y'all thought I was getting ready to get on my soapbox and go on a whole tangent.
I didn't know where you were going with that, but I was like, I was about to come out of his mouth. But Luana is going to be one of those people on Stories to Tell My Daughter. Just seen it just right now.
Yep. Wow, and shout out to Miss Luana. Get well soon. Yes. I want to make sure that she's all good and squared away. So we're excited about today's show. Right before we take a break, Brittany, you want to introduce what we're going to be talking about today?
Sure. So today, Lewis and I will kick us off talking about co-parenting. I think it's a good topic, especially in our community. Not saying that we've mastered it or we do it right, but I think it's a topic that some people struggle with a lot or don't have I won't say a guideline, but have an example of how to co-parent the right way in our community. So I think that it'll be a good discussion to kind of talk about some of our experiences with co-parenting, and then maybe give you guys some tips on things to do to make it more successful if you are struggling with it.
Hey, so Britt and Luz is getting ready to take over here in just a moment. Dewana and I will be back as we give final thoughts and close out this show. A shout out to y'all. Thanks for watching the Urban Impact Show. At this moment, we're going to take a break, but before we go, hilarious. Before we go, I need you to press that share button for us. Come on, press that share button for us, because we want to make sure that this type of content and these types of conversations are reaching in you all's households. Thanks again, and we'll be right back as they get ready to prepare to talk about co-parenting.
The Urban Impact Show, where today we will be talking about co-parenting. So I think as we kind of thought about this topic and how we were going to approach this topic, I think it's just easy to say, like, let's just keep it real.
Let's keep it real.
And
That's what we
talk
do.
about our real experiences, good or bad, and then maybe you guys can take something from that. So I'll kick it off. I have two kids' fathers, I guess that's how you say it, two kids' fathers. And
Because we don't say baby daddies
No,
and baby mamas.
that's ghetto.
Yeah, we don't do that.
and I think as you talk about that person, you want to talk about them in a positive light.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? This is the person that helped give your child life.
Exactly.
So I would say, just to kind of kick off some questions, I have two, you have one.
One, yep.
So I know it's probably easier dealing with one, whereas dealing with two. Let's talk about maybe some struggles that you feel like you had in the beginning, and what role did you play?
Wow, I think first thing first, you always have to look at your accountability, right? I know in the beginning, I didn't do a great job communicating. I didn't do a great job of, the transition from, being with someone and
Someone new.
Someone new, exactly. I didn't know how that looked. I never really I never experienced anything like that. So for me, it was more or less like, I'm not trying to. I didn't want to piss her off because I don't know how. I don't want her to not, make it difficult for me to see my child. I mean, it was just a lot of different dynamics. And again, I didn't have a tutor or no one to truly help me.
Or you didn't see it, like, are your parents married?
Yeah, my
so
parents.
you didn't see
yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a little different, right? And I didn't want the casualty, to trickle down to my son. That's to me, it was more so about him. It wasn't
Yeah.
about her feelings. It wasn't about her feelings.
Or yours.
Or mine. And I felt like, of course, trying to navigate that is tough because
Oh, yeah.
people like, you're going to take it personal. Like I took certain things personal. I'm sure, Shekinah took certain things personal. I mean, it was just different from that perspective. So, yeah, it was tough.
I think the biggest thing is to always think about your child. So when you're making a decision or you're doing something like, how is this going to affect my child?
Exactly.
And I think for me, just having a boyfriend that has multiple baby moms, and then on the other side, me, I always think of like, what's best for the kids? So I can my feelings per se don't probably matter as much as like when I entered a relationship and I wanted to, I would say like maybe try to be everyone's friend and make it like a cohesive relationship, because that type of stuff affects the kids.
Exactly.
So if we're fighting and we're arguing, the moms, that's gonna affect the children.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like always think, and one thing I would say to them is like, decisions that we're making, we gotta make what's best for the kids, for our children. So it's like, if you want to make plans with, like, say for the weekend, you want your kids to come over for the weekend, I think we all need to have a conversation so that we all know what that looks like. So it's like no one feels like they're in the dark. I don't feel like I'm in the dark, and everyone can be communicating on one accord.
Exactly.
But to do that, the moms and everything have to talk. You know what I mean? You can't. So I would say when you're entering a relationship, did you introduce them, or did you wait and kind of want them to introduce themselves, or you wanted to be like, okay, nobody needs to talk. It just needs to be me picking up my son and.
Yeah, that's how I felt in the beginning. Like, I don't need to talk. Like, me pick up my son, I think emotions were high too at that time. I had a lot going on with my health. It was a lot. And again, I didn't do it. I feel like if I do it all over again, it'd be totally different. But I felt like, okay, what's best for him right now? Like, I don't
Did you
feel
ask
like,
him? Like.
No. I mean, we talked later. Like, he asked little questions here and there. But I was getting, truth be told, and that time too was kind of a blur. Like leading up to having to go to Mayo and deal with my health issues. So it just happened fast. There was a lot going on. There's a lot going on really fast. But I didn't want to not do what I thought was best for him. And I think, by my partner not having children, I think it was a different perspective too. Right? I don't think she always wanted to do what's best for the child, but she never was looking at it from a different perspective than I was. So not to say she was right or wrong, it was just a different perspective that I wasn't looking at, and truth be told, I wasn't even open to hear at times. So again, it's like once you grow and you learn, you look back and you reflect and be like, okay, I got to take accountability for how this is now, how it could have been different. And what's best for my child then and now.
Because at the end of the day, your child's mom, your wife, you guys are all essentially family. And that's what I always think about. Remember when Jay-Z said that lyric, no one wins when the family feuds. So it's like, she's your family, your wife is your family, you guys are all, family together. So it's like her opinions and her viewpoints count as well. And I think oftentimes where people mess up at is trying to hide like that other piece. Like your son's here, he has a mom, so she can't hide her. You know what I mean?
No hiding.
Yeah,
he gonna let you know too.
That's my mom.
Yeah, that's my mom.
So it's like for me, I always wanted to make sure like I don't have to be the number one priority, but I'm here. You know what I mean? So it's like if you want respect, you got to give me respect too, and what that looks like. And I think that where men mess up, not to just kind of, get on men, is they don't, they want to hide that other piece. They don't want everyone to be inclusive together and have like this family dynamic because they don't know how. No,
that and because we don't like to communicate and have drama. So we feel like less communication is less drama. Like that's all we know, that's all we feel. It ain't like, we're trying to like Brady Bunch, one happy family. No. For us, it's like, less is better. And that's a fact.
Yeah, and I think for me, as I can take accountability, when I try to go in, everybody being cool, it's like everyone's not ready for that. Exactly. So you got to meet people where they are. So whereas I don't have a problem with it and think we all can spend holidays together and everybody's not there. So you got to give people the opportunity to be where they are and still respect them in that space. What are some, I want to say, positive things now that you feel like you guys have come to? Kind of talked about the negative in the beginning and you take accountability. What are some positive things that you guys?
I think the best positive is she never made it difficult for me to spend time with my child.
And that's good because a lot of moms aren't like that.
And I know she probably was in a space where she hated me or whatever have you, but it never crossed over to now I'm going to make it difficult for you to be a father. Like she
that's
made that
good.
plain. Like, I don't gotta like you to be a good dad because you're a good father, right?
You think that comes with age, like older women, maybe, probably, or?
Yeah, and I think it was more so too. Like, she knew where my emotions and my heart and my head was at. So it was like, I'm not going to make that difficult from that perspective. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway I've gotten from, you know, the transition is like, yo, I got to give her props for that. Like, she never made it difficult. Now, that doesn't mean everything was perfect. It just means anytime I wanted to come see him, anytime I wanted to pick him up, anytime I wanted anything, it was never a conversation of like, no.
Yeah.
No.
And that's
like,
because some women are, they use the kid as the pawn, which that's the wrong thing to do
all the
because
time.
that's hurting your child. At the end of the day, that's the person that's gonna, you know.
most affected.
Yeah, and when my oldest was 2, me and his dad broke up. So we've co-parented, he'll be 13 on Tuesday, so we've co-parented since he was 2. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing for me was always, let me do what's best for him and worry about my feelings later. And to be honest, you know, me and his dad are, you know, on good terms, but he was like the bitter baby mom. And I'd never like experienced it. Like, that's not really normal, you know, for the guy to be like that. Yeah. But my mind was always like, let me do what's best for my son because I don't want it to affect him, you know, growing up. I don't want him to feel, he's already in 2 different households, so he's already gonna feel this sense of like,
What's
my
going
parents
on?
are, and he's gonna see his friends, they have parents who are together and feel a certain type of way. But I always like, let me just make it as normal for him as possible. So if I gotta take the brunt of some things, I'm gonna take it because I don't want him to feel like, you know, he's missing out on something.
And I felt that. I felt like it was like a journey for him. So he's trying to look at this situation, right, and break everything down at 6. So it's like my dad is no longer living with me. Then he's gone for 4 or 5 months, right? Then, you know, is another person involved. Like, it was a lot. I think it was a lot for a 6-year-old. So what I tried to do is just make it as gentle as possible.
Yeah.
Thinking that, like, again, did I do it perfect? I'm sure I did it, but I did it to where I tried to give everything space to grow and space to give grace. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think if it was just like, as parents, as adults, we did everything we thought was best, and not put, it would have been catastrophe for him, because now he's trying to process all of this stuff at 6.
Yeah.
And as adults, we're not
And that's not
processing
fair
it properly.
for him
It's not.
to have to.
Yeah, he didn't ask to be put in the middle of things or X, Y, Z. So. Again, did I do it the right? I don't know what's the right way or what's the wrong way, but I think, again, just putting your child first is always what's best.
I think if y'all didn't have a bunch of drama, you did it a pretty close to right. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard in our community to not have drama because people are selfish and they think about themselves. They don't think about, you know, the child. So I think that, I don't think you guys did it a bad way because there was no drama out of it.
It's always drama. I don't care if it's you know, a little bit, but
maybe it didn't touch him.
Yeah, no.
So that's the important part.
And I will double back and say certain things did affect him because he would bring them up, right? Or I would see like emotions, or like he would act like, why don't you live? Why do you live over there now, Daddy? So I mean, certain he asked questions and he asked them properly, but I could tell like it affected him, but not as much as it probably could have, to where now he's an emotional wreck.
Yeah, because some parents put the kids in the middle where you ain't seeing your son since we can't be together, or you're not giving me money or doing what I think you should do, and that's not fair. I've always been the mom is like, no, you still gonna be around your son and your son's life, and you're going here, you're gonna take your son with you or be around. I've always been like that because my mom did that to me with my dad. Like, we moved away when I was 2 and she made it hard for him, and so I always said, if I get into the situation, I'm not gonna do that.
Nah,
you know.
But now he's at the age 2. I'm sure he would have said something.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to see my daddy. Like, I don't know. No, at 2 it would have been different.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and I probably would have moved differently because I felt like maybe I wouldn't have to worry about his feelings as much. He don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But at his age, it would have been.
What's going on.
Oh yeah, and I said that too. I was like, I want him to be verbal. If I was to do something different or whatever have you, you know what I mean? So. I knew, you know, like, no, he's verbal now. Like, he can say, I want to spend time with my daddy, or I want my daddy, or whatever have you.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back to continue this conversation on co-parenting.
Yep.
All right, we are back on the Urban Impact Show as we are continuing the conversation on co-parenting.
Guess who's Bizak?
So I have a few co-parenting conflicts that I want us to have some dialogue with. So let's start with having two different parenting styles. And I think we can incorporate the significant other too, because I feel like some of my examples might come from that, with trying to teach my boyfriend how to co-parent.
It might be like three parenting styles, low-key.
So do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
All right, sure.
Okay.
Start.
So I think that with my son's dad, because we split when he was 2, we were able to kind of, I want to say, develop those skills within the past 10 years of like our co-parenting style. We try to make sure the same thing he does at my house, he does at his dad's house. Now some things might be a little bit, I might be more lenient than his dad, so, but we try to make sure that we're on, so that the kid still feels some type of like,
Consistency.
yes. So I don't want to go to dad's house and he's like a drill sergeant. I can't do this. I can't do that.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, because then that mixes them up. So we honestly try, and some things all run by him. Like, hey, this is going on. What should I do, or what do you do? And then vice versa. I would say with helping my boyfriend co-parent, I don't try to control the situation, but I will give my 2 cents, because I don't ever want the mom to feel like I'm trying to take her role. So I'll give him some type of feedback, like, hey, well, or even try to help him be a little bit more gentle, like, hey, this is probably what she means from a woman's perspective, so handle her like this, don't handle her like that. Exactly. And always do what's best for your kids, and when they're at our house, making sure that whatever our rules are with our children in our household, we still make them pertain to those same rules.
No, communication is definitely key. I think we are two different parents, even when we were in the same home, and I think that's just in general, like your parenting style is going to be different. I'm the disciplinary, right?
Dads generally are.
Well, it's nature, nurture, right? So, I mean, so those little things I could see, especially if he comes back around me, it's like, oh, then he have to tighten up a little bit. Yes, sir. No, sir. Like he forgot that quick.
Because he don't have to do that with mommy.
Exactly, and I understand, right? I give him grace for that, but I think in the beginning, especially, we didn't communicate as much. It was like, wow, we need to communicate. And then you get to a point where it's like, no, we have a child, like you have to communicate.
Be an adult.
Exactly, and communicate. And I think that was different in the beginning, because again, it was quick, boom, here, done, like one word, but it wasn't about like parenting or about, what's best for him moving forward. I don't care if it's school, I don't care, like, we didn't really have those discussions, which made it tough.
And you have to make sure too, as you are, you're about to get married, you want to incorporate your wife into those decisions too, even if it's just you running by, hey, this is what we decided, or this is what we're gonna do with him, or what do you think about that?
No, it's important.
Yeah, like, or as a woman, she knows women's feelings and things like that, so she might tell you like, hey, maybe say it like this.
Oh yeah, women, y'all always gonna have each other back.
Yeah, because you're a woman before you're anything.
Before anything else, and I get that. But no, I think that's always important too, because it's not as if, well, this is his mom, I'm his dad, you don't have a say-so.
No,
like,
that's his stepmom, and that's someone who's a decision maker in your home, so you want her to always be a part of it.
Exactly, it should be.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that's, my boyfriend does a really good job of that too from the beginning, like, I think because it was so many of them, always wanting to make me feel like I'm a part of it, or be a part of it, or like if we're doing any type of parties or extracurricular events or anything, always making me be a part of it, whether I can make it or not. So.
Gotcha.
The next one would be, you worry about the child when you are in the other parent's custody. So when they're in the other parent's custody, so do you feel like you don't have to worry about your son when he's with his mom, because you know that she's going to make the best decisions and I think that's important.
No, I don't never feel like he's not in good hands, or she's not making the best decisions for him. No, not at all. Especially even when I was away for those months, it was like I didn't worry about him.
Yeah,
I missed him. Like I wanted to be around him. But I wasn't worrying about, is he getting parented properly, or is she doing X, Y, Z? It's like, no, not at all. So, and that, to me, that's a blessing too.
Oh yeah, because there are some parents that you got to worry about the kids when they are in their care. And I think, I've always said too, I know that he's not going to have someone in my child's life or around my child that's going to harm them. So I don't have to worry about, like, you don't have to run those type of things by me when he's in your care.
Exactly.
The next one would be your ex using the children to hurt you. And we kind of talked about this early on. Has that been an experience of yours?
No, I haven't experienced
And that's
that.
a blessing.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of moms who use the kid as a pawn because of them being angry.
No, I got a lot of friends that's in that position, and they know the only way to hurt them is through their children.
Yeah.
And that's the key. It's not even about the child. It's just I want to hurt. I'm hurt, so I'm gonna hurt people. Hurt people, so I'm gonna hurt you through this lens. And that's the problem.
That's very immature. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's a blessing that we don't go through those type of things. But if you are, never use your kid as a pawn. Your kid is the blessing between both of you guys. So whether you guys like each other or not, never put your kid in the middle of that.
No, that's trifling tendencies.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Either parent breaks an agreement. So if you guys have made a decision together and then you go and make changes, or have you experienced that?
Yeah, and I'm probably usually the one that's like I may have to stay for work, or now I have a board meeting. I was supposed to come pick them up. So, yeah, like I'm not often.
Yeah.
But it's usually because of work.
And do you
commitment or-
explain that to your child, like, "Hey, Dad"?
It's usually I FaceTime him.
Yeah,
Well,
to let him know.
I might text his mom, then I'll be like, hey, put his eye on the phone. I tell him I'll make it up to him the next day, whatever have you. Like I had to do a podcast like last week, and we were playing basketball, and I had to leave, and I know he was upset with
Yeah.
me, right? And that hurts as
Yeah.
a father, but you knew you like, man, I got
It's
this
not like
commitment.
you're doing something else where you're just pushing your kid off.
Not at all. And he was understanding, but that doesn't mean his feelings wasn't hurt. And that's what he told me. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
not mad, Daddy. Like, he's funny. He's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Well, he's grown.
Oh, yeah. He's in tune with his emotions for sure.
So this is the last one before we go to break. I think this is an important one. Emotional issues rule co-parenting relationships. So you always got to make sure your emotions are in check so that it doesn't affect the mom or the dad or the child. So I feel like with me, I always check my emotions at the door. You know what I mean? And don't make decisions off of emotion.
Well, even in the beginning, I never wanted my fiance to feel like I was catering to his mom. But what I also was trying to convey is that however she feel, that's what he gonna feel.
Yeah.
So if she got an attitude, she mad, like she's not in a good place, the whole house, like, Zai gonna feel that, right? So did I do it maybe too much? I'm not sure, I don't know, but I just know, plus you know that person, right? And you're, who you with now may not know that person. So it was like, that was tough for me too in the beginning, because I knew like, okay, I know she feeling some type of way, and I knew that was gonna trickle down to my son.
And I think too, you always, if you create boundaries early on, like when you introducing your wife, into the situation, this is our new dynamic, but you got to create boundaries with your kid's mom of like, hey, you're going to be respectful. These are the things that you're going to, follow, and so that there's none of this early on. But you always want your wife to feel like besides your son, like she's important. Her opinion is important, and
I probably didn't do that at first, like in the beginning, not because her opinion wasn't important, but because I was just strictly
trying to figure it out
and put everything emphasis on side. And in the process of that, you still make people feel like they may not be as important, or their their emotions, and it's hard. It is hard, like because you're like, no, this is what I mean, but that's not how it comes across, or that's not maybe how that person still may feel.
And at the end of the day, you got to go home to her.
Yeah.
So you can't mess your home up. Not saying for your son, but you can't mess your home up trying to cater to someone else's
And she gonna let you know.
feelings.
Yeah, she kind of gonna let you know.
Out the gate.
Yeah, out the gate. It's not gonna be like,
Well, though her and your son are the most two important people, in your life right now. So they both got to be happy, regardless of whatever.
yeah.
Well, we are going to go to break and continue this conversation on co-parenting.
What's up?
We are back with the Urban Impact Show, and we now have added all of our hosts to continue this conversation on co-parenting. I think all of us are parents. All of us have a child's father, child's mother type of situation, and it's not easy. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say that, like, I don't feel like I've mastered it, but I feel like 5 years, 10 years ago, like, I'm in a way better place than I was before.
Parenting in general is hard. Like, we don't even talk about that. Yeah.
There's no rule book.
Especially with all the trauma that's been passed down to us, like from our parents and their parents. Like, we didn't even get to those layers. We just talking about co-parenting.
Yeah.
But the parenting itself is it.
And I think parents, because my mom did a lot of telling me early on, like, well, you need to approach a situation like this, or you need to do this. And do you agree with that? Do you feel like your parents tried to give you feedback on what you need to do with your... No?
My parents was like, I was 2 weeks home with my first child, and after that it was like, go at it. So there was, if any advice was given, it was because I requested it.
Okay.
They did their very best to keep their hands off.
That's good though, because you can learn
what
and make
I did.
Your own.
Yeah. Now grandma was different. Now grandma put in her 2 cents, like, you should do. But my parents, I was blessed that they just kind of let me figure it out for myself. I think what I got my parents involved with. My kid's parent, father, is no longer alive. So both of I've been doing this since he's been gone. But I think one of the things that I did after I've reflected a lot about this is the mistake I made was getting them involved.
I was just
so
gonna
if
say
there
that.
was an issue with him, then I would bring the whole family involved. And that
They're not going to forgive him like you
are. So that on my part was a mistake, because at the end of the day, I would run my mouth, but then 2 seconds later,
you over it.
I'm over it.
They're looking at him sideways still.
And they still trying to figure out what's going on. So I think for me, my biggest mistake was letting people in. And then also, one thing that you all brought up too was my co-parent, he was parenting different than I was, and that was my biggest problem. So I didn't want my kids to be with him because we didn't parent the same. And I'm sitting here like, and I felt bad sending my kids into a situation where I'm like, you don't even see this kind of stuff at home. And so that was the biggest challenge for me as a co-parent, is getting past letting my kids go, knowing that we have different styles. They're not necessarily at church on a Sunday morning. They're not necessarily doing the things I would raise them to do. So that piece for me was really challenging. Yeah.
What about you, Rob?
I'm be honest, I'm a terrible example for co-parenting, because for me, like, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to grow. I call Lewis in situations where I'm like, because my thing is, I want Eli treated and raised a certain type of way. I am very aware of just who I am and where I want to go. And I didn't do it right. I was, I messed up. I'm trying to rectify it now. And honestly, I find myself sometimes disappointed in myself. Like, I should have did this differently, right?
Did what
and to be honest,
did what different?
Everything.
No, like, for real. Like, it's like, as you sit back and you think about the whole situation, like, I just should have did it differently. I'm sitting up here arguing with Eli's mom about, I don't even remember. But I just remember that it wasn't what I wanted, and I was upset about it at that moment. And I'm like, well, whoop-de-whoop, right? And then you got so much happening where it's like y'all aren't together, but clearly something is going on somewhere with one or both of the parties, right? And so it's like, man, what do you do at this point when it's like, man, this is, you, at the end of the day, you have to admit that you love this person in a way, because they are the mother or the father of your child. You see what I'm saying? Like there is still love for them. You don't want ill will on them, because they're helping raise this child, and this child will be severely affected by this as they get older. They will be adults like us sitting here having this conversation about
We're
how
talking about how you guys did it.
about how mom and dad didn't get along, and now because of that, I'm struggling to have a relationship myself with somebody because of what I seen my mom and dad do. How they were arguing and fighting. How my dad had this and this and this woman and that woman and that woman and this, and then my mom was sad about this because she wanted this, and you know, and it was just, you know, it's just one thing I do always ask for though is like just for it to be fair, right? Like, but then again, I'm like, am I being fair? Right? Am I being fair? And you know, Eli's mom, she has her ways, but one thing is she hasn't made it difficult for me to see him.
And that's a blessing.
Right? And y'all know, and y'all know,
I can navigate everything else.
A lot, right?
All the time.
And I know that's hard for her.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, she calls every day. You know,
But
every morning.
She's doing what's best for him.
She calls every morning and every night. You know, and she's like, man, I miss my son. She was like, but I get it because little black boys aren't always disconnected to their dads like this.
I want to say
I'll be honest though, I'll say this real quick. My son is so connected to me. It's like I can be in the vicinity and he not see me and still know that I'm in the space.
Right?
That's
Your
a
voice.
beautiful thing.
You know your breathing rate.
Like it's
He smells you.
It's crazy. You know, I gave I don't know if I told the example of last time when I went to go pick him up. He was in the room. He was in the room, and he can't hear me or see me.
Yeah.
But his mom goes in there, looks in. I get close to the door. Still can't see me. Still can't hear me. I get close to the door. He jumps up. He knows. He knows a familiar something is here.
Yeah.
And he may not be able to pinpoint exactly that. Oh, this my daddy. But he knows like something's here. And then the moment I stepped in the room, he was like,
Oh, come get me. He's like, come get me, Dad.
He smelled that juke you had on. Old school juke.
You said something.
Come on.
You said something that resonated with me. I think as I was making a decision on co-parenting and parenting after we broke up, and my emotions were still really high, and I still wanted to be together and connected and things. The thing that I kind of thought about the most was a lot of black men. There is a lot of black men that's not in their kids' lives for whatever reason. And so I wanted to, like, if I have a dad that wants to be there, I'm not gonna stop that. You know, I'm always gonna give him access to his child, and rightfully, this is both of our child. I delivered him, but he needs you as much as he needs me. And so that was one of my biggest things. And I remember my mom, because me telling my business to her, and when I'm hurting or upset, and she's not gonna get over as quickly as I am, but she's like, you need to move and you need to leave and bring the baby, and I'm like, but I can't take him away from he has an active dad that wants to be there. Right. So that's not fair for me to just remove the kid because we broke up. That's selfish, but there's, like Rob said, like black boys, they need their dad, and if you have a dad that wants to be there, who am I to take that away from him?
I think black folks just need more diaries.
Yeah.
Stop calling folks.
Yes.
Especially people that ain't in a
telling
better
your
situation
business,
than you. Yeah, just write it down. Like, get you a diary.
I do think wise. I do think on one instance, I do think wise counsel is always recommended. Though I will say
sometimes it's far and few in between.
Because I think when you have I think most of y'all know, like I have a council, right? Like you got Deidre, Shekinah, Kanisha, and AK, right? This council of women that aren't my blood sisters, but are like I've known them nearly half of my life.
Rob, you're a terrible example. Because don't nobody got no counsel like you. Like your counsel is a whole nother level of counsel. So it's like, why are you even giving? Like that's a whole nother.
But I want to say this though, because you got a counsel.
Everybody has everybody has their go-to.
But counsel is not your best friend who's a single parent too. Maybe is going through the exact same things. I think that what happens is we try to make people our counsel that they're just co-signers for us. That's what happens.
To make us feel better.
My council is full of people who are different on all levels, right? And then so so that's my top counsel, right? That's when it's about atomic bomb is dropping, and we got to figure out a PR plan, and we got to figure stuff out, right? Now other folks I call, like, I call Lewis, I call my sister Chrissy, right? I call my sister Deborah, and I call other mentors and stuff like that for different stuff, which is wise counsel. But for me, it's like, nah, they're not like in the business like that, except for like my top counsel probably knows most of everything. But it's like it's still like somebody, like I'm gonna say this, I know I'm probably gonna get in trouble, but their therapists are 6 months behind right now. Right?
To get an appointment.
I don't know if y'all knew that.
Yeah.
But to get an appointment with a therapist, it's 6 months to 8 months before you get your first appointment,
Give
right?
me a license.
And so it's like who do I talk to, outside of God, right? But also, I'm a firm believer that God works through live individuals.
Oh, absolutely.
He uses vessels to give you what you may need in that moment, right? And you just spoke to God through one of your councilmen or one of your councilwomen to really help you out. God, Mama Shekinah back there with
Eli.
with Eli.
But what do we say to people though? Because I hear us all
Listen, my
talking
counsel is a
about,
whole nother level.
our experiences and things like that. But there's someone listening today that's like, but I don't have no counsel, but I'm struggling right now because I'm hearing you on this whole co-parenting thing. It makes sense, but it's just not working for us. I can't get in and talk to nobody. I don't have the support that I need. So what advice are you going to give me to help me get to a place where we can at least try to bridge that gap? Because I think communications is the key, but what do we tell people who are like, I get it, I want to do that, I don't know where to start?
Think about your child and what's best for your child. And I know that that's like the easiest, but really, like, I always think, like, how is this going to affect my kid? And take your emotions out of it. We can't operate in a place of being in heightened emotions and then try to make a decision. You can't just, for an example, get into a really bad argument over daycare or something simple like that. And think about your child. So is this worth it? Like, is this argument worth it? Is this with me kind of like being the bigger person per se? Is it worth what's going on? But I think always think about your child, and is this the best decision for your child?
Well, the next step is not only, and I got this from when I worked adoption, right? Because they made hard decisions, and I never wanted them to think like I got paid extra if they placed their child for adoption. Right. And the best thing I would always do was always keep the child at forefront, like talking about it. Like this is what's best for your child. If you think this is what's best for your child, like literally saying it. So as much as she just said, think it, say it. Like, yo, listen, I know you may be upset, I'm upset, but what's best for, say their name.
Yeah.
Everything, once you deal with a child and their name, and everything seems to come down sometimes. Because like, it's a click in their mind. It's like a switch, like, this is what's best for Ray Ray. This was best for, what I'm saying, Michael, whatever have you. And you hear, and it's not just about you and that person anymore. You're really having a conversation about just that child.
Yep.
This is helping me because I am, like I was sitting there thinking today, like how disappointed in myself that I've been with this whole situation, because it's just like, I want to be an example for my son, right? And I want to break generational curses.
Yeah.
Like I want to do certain things, and then I get upset about something because I just don't feel like, this is, Elias is my first priority, and I don't play about that, and it's hard for me sometimes, and this is a vulnerable place for me to even admit out loud sometimes. It's like, this boy has changed my life, like completely, right?
We all,
and it's just like I'm trying. I want to be and do better with it all, and even sometimes in the co-parenting thing, you may not even be truthful all the time. You may keep something from them because you don't want the argument.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, or you don't want to set off this bomb that could trigger your son or your child being removed from you in any type of way. And it's like, how do I navigate these fears on top of being the type of man that I want to be and the man that I want my son to be?
That's a lot.
And then you sit with that. You sit with that, and as you sit with that, it gets heavier and heavier
So
every
watch
day.
when, I think too, like with your dynamic, you're just trying to figure out, y'all trying to figure out that co-parenting piece. Think about when you bring another person into that situation.
know.
It's going to be a whole dynamic.
That is challenging.
Yeah, that is
That
challenging.
is very
I know.
challenging.
And I think with
And especially if they don't get along.
it's your responsibility to make sure they get along and to kind of bridge that gap.
And then once you've done it wrong, it's hard to rebuild
Redone.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's
a
hard to
whole nother
rebuild
dynamic.
that, and then it's like, then you're even worse. You're feeling worse about about the whole situation in
Frustration.
general, and then it's just like, you know what? Just give me my child.
No, because
and I just
you the
wanna-
common denominator and all that.
Yeah, you
they
are.
wouldn't have known each other if it wasn't for you. There wouldn't have been no beef or no XYZ. The child is you're the common, and I had to come to grips with that. I'm the common denominator.
I'm
However,
the problem.
However
I
something
am the
is right now,
problem.
it's because of
This
me.
is me.
It ain't
This
because
is
of
my
her. It ain't
fault.
because of him. It ain't
Yeah.
I either lied about some, I didn't go all the way on some, or I didn't make the right decision on some, and all of this unfolds right in front of your eyes, and you trying to figure out just how do I just give me my child, let me just disappear.
Well, it take a long time to even admit like I was the problem.
Yeah.
Like I had to come to grips with that. Like no, dog, like you the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then once you do that, you're right. And then all the guilt comes, and you want to you need a hug, low key. And you're
It's-
like, yo,
it's
this is
heavy,
a lot,
man.
Yeah. And you trying
It's
to navigate all
heavy.
that. It's just
And you don't want to talk about that to somebody who doesn't really have experience with it. And I think that someone who's not
Yes.
going to think about the situation holistically, only going to think, because I have some friends where it's like, I don't want to talk to her about it because she doesn't know how to, she don't know the advice. She's going to give advice because she loves Brittany. And so whether it's,
She's gonna tell you what you need to hear. Just gonna.
Well, and they're not gonna make your child the focal point of their
No,
advice.
right.
Their advice is gonna like placate to you,
Yeah.
Yes.
and your feelings
Yeah.
and how you feel and your
Yeah.
dynamics, and you just got here. Like it's all of those comments instead of like, all right, what's best for
Yeah.
best for that child?
I'm sorry to
Maybe it
ask
might
this
be
question, but what about the moms who don't trust the dad, right? Like the dad wants to be there, but the mom is like putting barriers in there because they don't trust. I'm watching season 5 of Insecure for the first time, right? And I see that
I remember
situation.
that.
I
That's
see
why you
that
look sleepy. I was
situation.
up last night
I
watching.
was up last night
That
watching
is-
it.
I know what you're talking
and,
about.
And I see the situation between Lawrence, the character, and Condola,
Yeah, Condola.
the character, where she didn't trust him, and how he got upset because he's like, I'm not a bad father.
Yeah.
Like I am trying my best to make this happen.
Why doesn't she trust him?
You know, I don't even
I
know.
think that her emotions are too like she has to, because she still wants to be with him, still wants
There
a
you go.
family.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
there
say
you go.
Her
that's the key
emotions.
thing.
And so I think as women, because when I got to a space where I let all that go, our co-parents relationship became so much better. So I think for either where it's men or women, like you got to let that part go,
Yeah.
because there's no reason why she shouldn't trust him. He's he's a good guy. He's a good, like
Got a
he's
job.
not,
You
yeah, he's
trust
got a job. He not out in the streets. Like he's a good person.
You trusted him when-
But I think that and too, when they want to control the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, so it's like her emotions and her trying to, like, she don't even give him a chance, but she needs to,
Yeah.
you know, but it's how he started the situation off.
I think 99.9% of the time it's the feelings that
Yeah.
are involved.
Gotta let
And
'em
that's
go.
what gets in the
Gotta
way
let 'em go.
of sometimes with the co-parenting relationship. And my best thing is you got to get to a place where, like, when your child is with, I'll just say, from my perspective with the father, like, that's their time.
Yeah.
You don't get to dictate it. You don't get to, you know, try to get in on it. That's their time to build something, no matter what they have. And so I've seen this even in reverse. So, you know, knowing that my kid's dad's not alive, I was with someone who had kids. And watching the barriers that got put up for him just to see his kids, to spend time because I was in the picture or because she didn't like who I, you know, that's challenging too, to sit back and
through
be
that.
the person who watches it from the flip side of like, you don't even know the situation here, but you're penalizing
Yeah.
your kids from spending time. So I got to the point where I was like, look, then go spend time with them.
I don't wanna be the
it ain't
reason.
about,
Yeah.
because this is about kids. It's not about me. And so I think we dangle all of that stuff into the situation, and it makes it challenging instead of just being like, we're two individual people. This is our focus, nothing on the outside, and we got to figure out a way to.
Duana,
move
but
that
you
forward.
raised two amazing human beings.
Thank you.
Without it.
Thank you.
You
I'm very
raised
proud
two
of my
amazing human beings.
two human
That's-
beings who
they're
now we
awesome.
can laugh.
If my children can be just half of what Jamarcus has become, don't tell my girl I said that, but no, I mean you raised two amazing human beings, man.
No,
Kudos to
and
you.
we're very transparent with each other.
Yeah.
That's what makes me and my kids' relationship so beautiful. So I can talk to them about the mistakes I made with their dad, with them not being here. I can
Yes.
tell them about the real person their dad was, and we can laugh, we can talk, they can ask questions, and I think it takes that level of transparency
Yeah.
with your
That's a
kids
beautiful thing.
to be
Yes.
like, well, this is where mom messed up. So like, as you move forward in life, be mindful of this, because I've reflected completely over those years,
Be better.
and I know that now I can pour into my kids to be better.
Amen.
Yeah.
I think this is a great conversation. I think about co-parenting. I think we still have other areas within co-parenting that we haven't touched. So, how do you guys feel about like a part 2?
Yeah, this need to be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it need to be different parts.
Yeah.
We need to have different parts, and we need to do, like, I think, a part with men
Oh,
and with
yeah,
women.
like a
Like, let's
discussion.
separate this out,
Yes.
that conversation, because I think there's things that men are going to relate to just on a man level.
Well, because we
There-
deal with a lot more than y'all.
No,
we
there is.
say.
There's a lot
And
more.
we
And I
to
think
be
as
honest.
women with different dynamics, like the stepmom, the mom, I think that we bring women in to have that real conversation, so you guys men can hear, this is how this makes me feel, this is how I want you to handle this situation, so that our family.
And maybe have two
Dynamic.
moms, a stepmom in the
Yeah, that's what I was
that's in a
thinking.
good place
Yep,
that they can
mix
talk
that
about.
up.
I
They
think-
can talk about their
Yeah,
experience.
because I'm on both sides. I'm stepmom, I'm mom. Like I've been through both, so I think this is a great conversation for us to figure. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back to wrap up the show. So this has been, I feel like, some good conversation. I feel like there's still areas that we can touch and probably go in more in depth. So I think that
It's like co-parenting. It
I
don't
know.
stop. Like even
Yeah.
when you think you got it mastered, here comes something else. Here's another dynamic. And here's another dynamic.
right.
So now
and I
we-
think with us still learning, trying to make both of our situations better and learning, like this is good. This is therapy.
Oh, it is
What they
therapy.
said, therapy was backed up 6 to 8
6
months.
months, yeah.
This is
It's
our therapy.
therapy.
We got to create our own therapy.
I'm gonna give Rob a hug and he gonna give me one on
Yep.
the way out because we both need it.
Yes.
Facts.
So yeah, I think that we, maybe within the next few months or so, we kind of get maybe another show or two into where we have, more people on. We have dads, we have moms, and do like a group conversation, a group discussion. And
Well, because there's so many dynamics, right?
and we want to help people. We want
do.
to help our community and
Help ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that you guys do this right. Within the Black community, I don't think we see this done right. We see a lot of baby mama, baby daddy drama, and it don't got to be that way.
Well, we don't see how, even working in the school system, right? And when we don't co-parent right,
Yeah.
I have to deal with your children.
Yeah, right.
That's now having all
They're
attitudes
acting out,
and they
yeah.
acting out and they
That's
they don't
true.
know
I
how to
didn't
deal
think
with their
about that.
emotions, and it's like now they going to the teacher and now you got DHS in your business because they just want a little love. I mean,
Yep.
it's a whole trickle down of effects when we don't do it right, and that's just that's a fact.
And we want to raise young men and young women who know how to do it the right way. Granted, you don't start out life like, okay, I want to have a baby mama, a baby daddy. We want that white picket fence and a family. So we just want to teach you guys, things that we've learned and kind of talk through ways of how to get it right.
Well, Eli said our time's up, and I appreciate
Is
you.
he wrapping us up?
He did wrap us up.
All right. Well, thanks for spending time with us today as we talk about co-parenting. Hope you guys have a good week, and we will be back next week at the Urban Impact Show.